Wow, it's pretty noisy here. But I think the view is different. Again, it's one of those urban-esque videos, so we have an urban setup. And today's topic is a continuation of the last episode's topic, which was the X100. And I mentioned that I've used a couple of different cameras for the same purpose, for the walk-around purpose. And one of those cameras is the Nikon ZF. So, Nikon had another camera that was supposed to be like a filmic retro Fujifilm answer from Nikon, but then that was kind of a flop, to be honest. I did like the design. I liked it a lot more than the ZF, but it was a flop basically. It never sold that much. I don't really remember what the issue was with that camera. All I remember was it came out somewhere around maybe 2016, 2015, and it had the same sensor as in the D750, if I'm not mistaken, but it looked retro. So skip forward a few years, they come up with the ZF-C, which has a crop sensor, which was supposed to be the direct competition for whatever Fujifilm has to offer. Retro, the dials, it looked like a film camera basically. But Nikon being Nikon, they made it cheap, and because they wanted it to compete with Fujifilm, they made the build quality just as cheap as Fujifilm makes their cameras. And so price-wise, it competes very well with Fujifilm, but it didn't look as nice as a Fujifilm, and it certainly lacked the build quality. Then they came up with the ZF. Full frame. The design is very similar to the ZF-C, but it is built like a Nikon builds cameras, or at least used to build cameras. So brass dials, magnesium alloy construction. It is a good hefty camera body. It has the same sensor from the Z6 Mark II, I believe, the 24 megapixel sensor. If you guys remember, I had an issue with the Z8 and the Z9 for not having a mechanical shutter. And some people came in the comments and they were like, did you try the Z6 Mark III? And I was like, yes, smaller sensor, but it has a mechanical shutter. This also has less megapixels, just as a Z6 Mark III, as long as it's not as less, to be honest. But it's still less than the 40-ish megapixels in the Z8 and Z9. So, full frame, 24 megapixels, retro body. It is basically the camera that Fujifilm never made. And knowing Fujifilm, they'll probably never make full-frame cameras. It's pointless by now. They already have the medium format line, and they have the crop sensor line, and that's what they're doing with it. And if it makes more sense, just put yourself in Fujifilm's shoes. Why would they be trying to create a different form factor or a different sensor if that's all they need? They need something that works, and definitely the crop sensor works. And for the Pro, they just use the medium format. And between those, there's no point going full frame. So circle back to the ZF. What the ZF is good at is it has very good image quality, very, very good image quality, very, very good dynamic range. It has this switch that it automatically switches from color mode to black and white mode. It shoots spectacular video for pretty, I wouldn't call it consumer grade, but yeah, it shoots very good video. I wouldn't trust Nikon with their videos that much, but yet again, it shoots very good video. The autofocus is improved a lot. It is night and day difference between what the Nikon autofocus used to be and what it is now. So these are like a few points where the ZF really shines. But if you ask me what I really like about the ZF is the fact that it's a very nice looking camera. Using the camera, you feel how well made it is, how robust it is. And once you add in like the factors of how good it is using that, I think it's very hard to ignore that camera for someone who's looking for a replacement for the X100V or the X100VI, because yes, it's not a fixed camera. Yes, it's an interchangeable camera system or interchangeable lens system, but it offers a lot, especially when it comes to image quality. It might not compete where it comes to the colors of Fujifilm, but it offers a lot where it comes to the image quality. And I think it despite it having less megapixels than what the Fujifilm has, it is a lot better in terms of image quality. I will say that the black and white modes on the Fujifilm, like the Acros modes, generally monochrome, Fuji does it better. But knowing that, Nikon has actually created a black and white mode that is, I'm not going to call it Fuji-esque, but it is as close as it can be to what you get from a Fuji. And again, we put the pictures in Photoshop, we put the pictures in Capture One and Lightroom, and there's a lot of tweaking that happens in the programs. Basically, if you are going for straight out of cameras, your best bet is just to get it from the Fujifilm. But if you want a bigger sensor, if you want better dynamic range, if you want nicer image quality, if you want a body that's actually built properly, not as plasticky as the Fujifilm bodies, I think the ZF is a very strong contender. And they've also created two lenses, the 40f 2.8 and the 28f 2. They are this retro style rehoused lenses, so they fit very well with the ZF. A lot nicer than their like more modern lenses. They're not weather sealed. They're plasticky, but they do the job, and they do the job pretty well. So again, I think the ZF is at a point where it stands out enough. One of the good things about it is that it is being discounted a lot right now, a lot. I'm not sure if people are starting to take notice of it or not yet, but for how it's priced, for what it offers, I think it's a very good contender. And for people who are actually looking to save a buck and get a good camera to walk around with, the ZF is a very good option. That's what I think of the ZF. That's what I currently use actually to walk around. Until I see you guys later, so stay safe.